You want power, you want freedom, then listen closely, because it all starts with this. What you do with your mind every single day, not once a year, not when life gets hard, every single day. Educating yourself isn't a hobby. It's not a chore. It's the most rebellious, unstoppable act of self-respect you'll ever commit to. You want to move forward in life, then understand this first. The world is not waiting for you to catch your breath. It's not slowing down because you're tired, confused, or undecided. Every single day the world spins faster. Technology advances, markets shift, ideas explode across continents in seconds. While you're debating your next step, someone else is already 10 moves ahead. You don't get to press pause. In a global race where evolution is constant, the only way to stay in it is to keep learning, to keep feeding your mind, to stay sharp when the world throws curveballs, because it will. Education is no longer a luxury, it's your survival kit. It's what separates those who drift with the tide from those who rise and ride the waves. The game has changed. Success doesn't belong to those with connections. It belongs to those who prepare asterisk. Those who study harder, dig deeper, ask better questions, and stay curious. When you educate yourself every day, you're not just collecting information. You're building weapons, tools of clarity, speed, and strategy. You walk into a room and see what others miss. You hear opportunity where others hear noise. That's the edge, and it only comes from a consistent, relentless pursuit of knowledge. The biggest lie we've been sold is that school ends when we graduate, that once you get the degree, you're done learning. That lie is the reason so many stay stuck waiting, hoping, watching others rise. But education doesn't end in the classroom. It begins the moment you realize life itself is the ultimate teacher, and you are the student until your last breath. The people who thrive aren't always the most talented or the most gifted. They are the ones who never stopped learning, the ones who looked at the world and said, asterisk, there's always more, I'm not done yet, asterisk, and let's be clear, this isn't about textbooks and lectures. It's about staying mentally awake. It's about reading that article, listening to that podcast, asking that uncomfortable question. It's about upgrading your thinking daily, not when you're in trouble. Not when you hit rock bottom, asterisk now. Asterisk because preparation is invisible, but its results are loud. People will call you lucky. They'll say you just have it. But what you really have is years of private growth layered into strength and clarity. That's the silent power of self-education. It works in the dark and shows up in the spotlight. Still think you have time? Think again. Right now, someone younger, hungrier, less experienced is outworking you. Not because they're better, but because they refused to be comfortable. Every day they read, listen, build. Every day they grow. And while you're watching one more episode, they're building the skills that will put them ahead. Harsh truth, maybe, but it's also the wake-up call that most people avoid. If you're serious about your future, you stop making excuses and start building knowledge like it's your lifeline. Because it is. And let me tell you, every person you admire, every leader you look up to, every icon you study, they all have one thing in common: they never stop learning. CEO read daily. Creators study their craft relentlessly. Athletes review tape, refine technique, analyze strategy. The top never settle because they know. The second you stop learning, you start fading. That's the truth. You want to rise. Educate yourself every day. Not for applause, not for validation, but because your potential is too big to play small, because the world won't wait. And neither should you. Let's get something straight. No one is coming to save you. Not your parents, not your boss, not the government, not your friends. This isn't a movie. There's no hero showing up in the final act to pull you out of the fire. And if you're sitting around waiting for the perfect opportunity, the perfect mentor, the perfect moment to begin, you're already losing. The truth is uncomfortable, but it's also liberating. Asterisk, you are your own rescue plan. Asterisk, you want growth. Build it, you want success, study it. You want to change your life, take the wheel, because the second you understand that it's all on you, that no one owes you anything. That's the moment you start to take power back. People love to talk about dreams. They'll tell you they want more, that they're meant for something bigger, but wanting isn't enough. Wishing isn't a strategy. You have to get obsessed with building the life you say you deserve. That means showing up every single day with a hunger to learn, to evolve, to sharpen yourself. You want to be better, then prove it. Read the book, ask the hard questions, learn the skill. Because while you're hoping someone hands you a shortcut, someone else is grinding in silence, putting in the hours, stacking knowledge, and becoming unstoppable. And the truth is, they're not smarter than you, They're just more committed to their own growth. We live in a world where everything is at your fingertips. Podcasts, masterclasses, audiobooks, articles, interviews, 24/7 access to the minds of the greatest thinkers, leaders, and creators in history. You can learn from them without ever leaving your house. So tell me again, what's your excuse? You say you don't have time, you scroll for hours. You say you're too tired, you binge entire seasons of shows. The harsh truth is, if you're not educating yourself every day, you're choosing comfort over evolution. And the cost of that choice is high: stagnation, regret, and being left behind. Look around. The people who are winning aren't always the most privileged or the most connected. They're the ones who made a decision, I will not wait for permission to grow. They didn't wait for a sign or someone to validate them. They started where they were with what they had, and every day they added something to their mind, a new insight, a new perspective, a new tool. That's what separates average from exceptional, not luck, not timing, relentless self-education, a daily decision to rise even when no one is watching. And let's be real, learning isn't always glamorous. Sometimes it's boring, sometimes it's frustrating, sometimes it forces you to confront how little you really know, but that's exactly why it's powerful. Growth isn't meant to be easy. It's meant to stretch you, challenge you, break your limits. Every time you educate yourself, you prove to yourself that you are capable of more, that you are not defined by your past, your environment, or your circumstances. You are defined by what you choose to become. And education, self-driven, unrelenting education, is the path to that transformation. So stop waiting. Stop hoping someone else will give you the blueprint. It's already out there, and it's your responsibility to go find it, study it, and apply it. The difference between those who rise and those who stay stuck isn't opportunity. It's ownership. Own your growth. Own your journey. No one is coming to do it for you. And that's not a tragedy. That's your moment of power. Because when you realize that your future is built, not given, you stop waiting, and you start rising. Intelligence is the ultimate currency. In a world where everything is temporary, money, trends, fame, your ability to think, adapt, and solve problems is what keeps you powerful. People often chase external wealth, but overlook the one asset that multiplies everything else: your mind. You can lose a job, lose money, even lose your network, but if you've educated yourself, if you've built a sharp, strategic, well-equipped brain, you'll bounce back every single time. Because you've got the one thing that can't be stolen or shaken: your intelligence. It's not just about what you know, it's how you think, how you see, how you connect the dots when no one else can. There's a reason some people can walk into any room and immediately command attention. It's not luck, it's not looks, it's not even charm, it's clarity, depth, intelligence. When your mind is rich, your words carry weight. Your presence has gravity. You don't have to shout to be heard. You speak and people lean in. Because you know what you're talking about. You've done the work. You've read the books, watched the patterns, questioned the norms, and suddenly the room doesn't intimidate you because you've trained for it. That's what education does. It builds a foundation so strong, no storm can shake it. Now let's talk about real wealth. We've been taught to measure success by what's in our bank account, what we wear, what we drive. But those things fade, they depreciate. What doesn't? The knowledge you carry, the strategies in your head, the discipline in your habits, the understanding of people, systems, trends. Asterisk, that's real wealth. Asterisk, because when you have that, you're not just surviving, you're creating. You can walk into any industry, any situation, and find a way to thrive, because you don't need someone to open the door for you. You've got the blueprint to build your own. Educating yourself every day doesn't just make you smart, it makes you dangerous in the best way. Dangerous to ignorance, dangerous to limitation, dangerous to the lie that you're only allowed to go so far. Because every time you learn something new, you're rewriting your story. You're expanding what's possible. You're reminding the world and yourself that you're not here to blend in, you're here to break through. And when your mind is equipped with knowledge, when your instincts are sharpened by experience and study, you don't chase opportunity. You attract it. Think about the people who really change things, the disruptors, the innovators, the leaders. They're not just talented, they're constantly learning. They're obsessed with knowing more, being better, evolving faster. They read, they listen, they ask, and because of that, they see what others don't. They create what others can't. Intelligence gives you vision, the ability to anticipate, to strategize, to outmaneuver the noise. In a world drowning in opinions and distractions, an educated mind is the loudest signal. It cuts through, it commands respect. It doesn't need permission to speak. It owns the conversation. So if you're still underestimating the power of daily education, you're missing the most valuable investment you'll ever make. This isn't about being a genius, it's about being ready. Ready when the opportunity comes. Ready when the pressure hits. Ready when it's your moment, because the truth is, nothing will multiply your value like knowledge. Not hype, not hustle, not luck. Just pure earned intelligence. It's the currency that never crashes, never devalues, never expires. And the best part, you can grow it every single day, starting now. Confidence isn't magic. It's not gifted at birth or reserved for the chosen few. Real, unshakable confidence is earned. It's built brick by brick through effort, through learning, through repetition. It's not the loudest person in the room, it's the one who knows they're prepared. When you educate yourself every day, you stop guessing and start knowing. You start standing taller, not because of arrogance, but because you've done the work. You've studied the subject, you've faced the discomfort, you've sharpened your skills. Confidence is what happens when your mind can look your fear in the eye and say, I've got this. People try to fake confidence all the time. They wear the suit, they memorize the lines, they post the quotes, but when the pressure hits, when the room goes silent and the spotlight turns on, you can't fake what you haven't built. That's where competence speaks. That's where preparation shows. Every book you read, every lesson you master, every hour you commit to learning. Those are deposits, and eventually those deposits turn into wealth, the kind of internal wealth that shows up in the way you walk, talk, and lead. Confidence without competence is just noise, but when they align, that's power. Confidence rooted in education doesn't crumble when you're challenged, it thrives. When someone questions your opinion, you don't shrink because you've done the research. You don't fold when things get complicated because you've trained your brain to problem solve. This kind of confidence isn't loud or showy. It's calm, grounded, undeniable. It doesn't need to prove anything because the proof is in the preparation. People feel it when you speak. They sense it when you lead. It's magnetic because it's real. That's the result of showing up for your mind every day, even when no one's watching. Confidence also grows with clarity, and clarity comes from exposure, to ideas, to knowledge, to perspectives beyond your own. The more you learn, the clearer your path becomes. You stop questioning every move, you stop guessing every decision. Why? Because you've studied, you've put in the hours, You've taken the time to understand not just what to do, but asterisk why asterisk it matters. And with that understanding comes a sense of authority, not over others, but over your own direction. You're no longer reacting to life. You're creating it with intention. That's what confidence born from education feels like. There's a quiet confidence that only shows up after you've failed, learned, and grown. When you educate yourself consistently, you begin to see failure differently, not as the end, but as feedback. Every mistake becomes a teacher, every misstep a lesson, and that mindset is what separates people who plateau from those who rise. When you know that knowledge is always one step away, fear loses its grip. You become more resilient, more adaptable, more willing to take bold action. Because even if you fall, you know how to rise smarter than before. That's the kind of confidence that carries weight, and let's not forget, confidence is contagious. When you walk into a room prepared, informed, and educated, you give others permission to rise too. You become a force, not because you demand attention, but because you've earned it. People trust those who show they've done the work. They follow those who lead with clarity, who speak with intention, who radiate conviction. But none of that happens by accident. It comes from the daily, deliberate choice to invest in your mind. That choice stacks, it compounds, and before you know it, you're not hoping to be enough. You asterisk no asterisk you are. Life doesn't give you a schedule. It doesn't ask if you're ready. It doesn't care if you feel prepared. One day you're cruising along, and the next everything shifts. A job is lost. A relationship ends. A plan falls apart. That's life, unpredictable, ruthless at times, and in those moments, the people who survive aren't the ones who panic or wait for someone to tell them what to do. It's the ones who have been quietly preparing, the ones who have educated themselves daily, who have sharpened their minds like a blade, who have trained for impact without knowing when it would come. Life doesn't warn you, but education makes sure you're never caught off guard. You can't wait for a crisis to start growing, because when the storm hits, it's too late to learn how to swim. You don't build strength asterisk during asterisk the challenge. You build it asterisk before asterisk. That means every article you read, every book you finish, every podcast you absorb is insurance. It's protection, it's preparation, not for if life tests you, but asterisk when asterisk, because it will, and when it does, you won't break down. You'll break through. You'll pivot, you'll adapt, you'll lead. That's what an educated mind does. It doesn't freeze in fear, it recalibrates, assesses, and moves forward. We're living in an age of uncertainty. Careers evolve overnight. Industries transform in months. Skills that were in demand yesterday become irrelevant tomorrow. So if you're not constantly upgrading yourself, you're slowly becoming obsolete. This isn't meant to scare you. It's meant to wake you up. The only real job security now is asterisk your ability to learn fast and pivot faster asterisk. And that ability isn't a talent, it's a habit of daily growth, of intentional learning, of being curious when others are complacent. That habit becomes your armor, and when everything around you feels unstable, your mind becomes your most reliable asset. Let's talk about pressure, because pressure reveals who's ready and who's pretending. When the stakes are high and the floor feels like it's falling out from under you, people look around for a leader, someone who stays calm, someone who has answers. That can be you, but only if you've been putting in the work. Educating yourself doesn't just give you knowledge, it gives you composure. You think clearer, speak wiser, act faster. When chaos erupts, you don't get rattled, you rise, because you've trained for this. That level of steadiness isn't a personality trait. It's a result, a byproduct of a disciplined, prepared mind. And when you've been through it, when life has tested you, shaken you, pushed you to your limits, you start to realize something powerful. Your education was never about the grades or the titles. It was about asterisk who you became in the process. Asterisk all those days you pushed yourself to read instead of scroll, to learn instead of complain. They built something no crisis can destroy, resilience, and that resilience shows up when everything else falls apart. It's the voice in your head that says, asterisk, I've faced worse, I've studied harder, I know how to figure this out. Asterisk, that voice becomes your anchor. So many people live in fear. Fear of losing, fear of failing, fear of the unknown. But when you're consistently educating yourself, fear loses its edge, because you've trained your brain to handle the unknown. You've exposed yourself to challenges, information, perspectives. You've stretched your thinking. So when the real test comes, you don't shut down. You lean in. You trust your ability to learn your way through anything. That's not arrogance. It's assurance, and it doesn't come from luck or talent. It comes from showing up for your mind every day, long before the world demands it. You want freedom, real freedom, the kind that isn't tied to a paycheck, a manager's approval, or the latest market shift. Then you need to understand this. Freedom is earned through discipline, and discipline is built through knowledge. Educating yourself every day is the most powerful act of rebellion against limitation. It's how you take ownership of your future, because when you know how to think, how to decide, how to lead asterisk, you don't wait for someone to hand you options asterisk. You create them, you design your life with intention, not by default, and that kind of freedom, the freedom to choose, to move, to evolve, that only comes from a well-fed, well-trained mind. Most people think freedom means doing whatever you want, whenever you want. But that's not freedom, that's indulgence, and it collapses the moment life throws pressure your way. Real freedom is stability, it's power, it's the ability to act on your terms with clarity and purpose. And that kind of strength doesn't come from comfort. It comes from preparation, from being the kind of person who learns relentlessly, so you're never at the mercy of uncertainty. Education isn't a burden, it's your ticket out. Out of mediocrity, out of dependency, out of fear. When you commit to learning, you stop waiting for doors to open. You start building your own. Every new skill you learn is a key that unlocks opportunities others don't even see. When you educate yourself, you start to connect dots others miss. You spot trends before they become obvious. You recognize patterns, solutions, and gaps in the market. Suddenly, you're not stuck following rules. You're creating new lanes. That's what freedom looks like. It's not having less responsibility. It's having asterisk more control asterisk. And control doesn't come from guessing. It comes from knowing. It comes from being the person who never stopped learning while everyone else got comfortable. Let's talk about financial freedom, because it's one of the biggest dreams people chase, and the most misunderstood. Money isn't the root of freedom. Asterisk understanding asterisk money is making it, multiplying it, managing it, and that takes knowledge, not hype, not shortcuts, but real education. Read the books, study the markets, learn about business, investing, negotiation. Because if you don't learn how money works, someone else will always be making those decisions for you. And you'll keep trading time for survival instead of building a life on your own terms. Financial freedom starts with financial asterisk literacy asterisk. That's not optional. It's foundational, but it's not just about money. It's about emotional freedom, mental freedom, the ability to respond instead of react, to choose growth over fear. When you educate yourself every day, you train your brain to slow down, to analyze, to focus. You're not just learning facts, you're rewiring how you operate. You stop being controlled by your environment, your past, or your emotions. You move with precision, with intention, with confidence. That's power. That's freedom, and it doesn't come from hoping for peace. It comes from mastering yourself through consistent, intentional learning. So while the world is chasing distractions, you choose to build your mind like a fortress. You fill it with ideas, with strategies, with tools, because you understand something they don't. Education isn't just preparation for freedom. Asterisk, it is freedom. Asterisk, the kind that no one can take away. The kind that follows you wherever you go. You don't need permission. You don't need a title. You don't need a seat at someone else's table. When you educate yourself every day, asterisk, you become the table asterisk. You stop living on borrowed power and start living on your own.